And now, you're tuned in to All Factors Considered. Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Factors Considered. Today, we breaking down UFC Vegas 24, The Reaper, Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker. He solidified his place as the #1 contender in the middleweight division, but we got a lot to talk about. Not just that, we got fights that happened all week long, and we're breaking it down. We're doing some recap, man. So, AJ, man, how are you living? You here live in the building, man. I want to know first straight off the bat, man. We're gonna get into the serious MMA stuff in a minute, but we do have to entertain what's happening in the MMA world, right? And one of the biggest events, I don't know why, but just took place in Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. And Ben Askren, man, he let the MMA community down, dude. MMA community is in shambles. How does this knockout, this first round knockout that Jake Paul served Ben Askren, how does that affect the average Joe who's now saying like, hey man, I saw that YouTuber beat up an MMA guy, fighting isn't real, dude. Like, I'll just kick all your guys' asses. Like, do you think, my take is that I think this is going to lead to someone getting hurt because they're going to get a little too overconfident over Jake Paul beating, a dude who just came off of a hip replacement MMA fighter. No excuses. Ben Askren should have won. But, I mean, what do you think is going to be the casualty of what occurred last night?
I definitely think that's like the worst case scenario, Derek, because YouTube is kind of everything nowadays. It's kind of more so the mainstream media, mainstream like TV source than actual mainstream like ABC, CBS, all that jazz. Man, that would actually be worst case scenario. What I think is going to happen, man, personally, is it kind of like taints the reputation of both MMA and gives a false sense of security to boxing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the art of boxing is like beautiful and precise in the hand. Like it's a chess match. We both box. It's fun, man. It's precise. It's a beautiful art. But mixed martial arts is a whole nother art form in itself. And I've even had my friends text me like, "Is this guy legit? Like, is this dude? Is he for real? Like, did this guy really step into the ring, like the MMA ring? The octagon?" And I think it's just it gives almost too much light to, I think, an art form that is not the same aspect. It's comparing apples to oranges, in my opinion, and really it just kind of confuses more people. Like you said, it could lead to bad things down the road on the real street, man. That's where you don't want it.
That's the thing, because it's the time-old argument, really, right? Oh, boxing versus MMA. Well, boxer would win because they're so much nicer with their hands, but MMA fighter will win because they could take you on the ground, and what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. It's definitely interesting, and I guess Jake Paul lives to fight another day. He gets to call himself a fighter for, another couple months until runs into somebody eventually, man, who's going to have to put him away. But this is starting to feel almost similar to Greg Hardy. When Greg Hardy came into the UFC, and we're all like, oh, he'll get knocked out by all of these dudes, and he just keeps winning, and you're just like, okay, all right, until he ran into Marcin Tybura. Tybura actually put him out. He hit that ground and pound. Anyways, man, I don't know what the hell we talking about now.
Jake Paul's the CM Punk of boxing is what you're trying to say, man.
More or less. That was much more succinct.
The successful CM Punk.
There you go, right? But nonetheless, man, we gotta shed a little light on that. But hey, let's do a little record recap and let's start the clock. Let's actually get into what matters these days, right? So, AJ, man, I enjoyed my lead while it lasted. We back to tied, man. 35-37 apiece, man. It was a rough night at the office for me, I have to say. I went 1-4 on my picks. You went 2-3 on your picks, but you still beat me. So we back at 500, man. A lot of decisions, man. UFC Vegas 24, we put the judges to work, man, because it was 8 decisions, lots of split decisions. First time I've seen a split technical decision in a minute, or I don't know if it was a split technical, but it was a technical decision nonetheless. So it's like you don't see those very often, but we actually saw that in the Ben Askren Jake Paul, main card, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But nonetheless, all right, with that being said, I'm going to start the clock and, do what we do best, man. Assess some damage. So, we got to start off, folks. If you're watching, you can see that we got a little note here that we need to probably start the show off with. So, we got robbed of a couple good fights on UFC Vegas 24. It's unfortunate, but the name of the fight game, especially with COVID going on and all that. AJ, let me ask you this. Drakkar Klose versus Jeremy Stephens, excuse me. We're going to be talking about this one for a while, right? So let me just read the note, folks, for those listening. It says, after I was pushed by Jeremy at UFC face-offs, I immediately felt my hand go numb and neck tighten up. Sean Shelby and the UFC official sent me to the PI to get worked on by the UFC PT staff for 2 hours. I spent the night eating, rehydrating, stretching. I even saw the PT staff later that night. I woke up early this morning with a migraine/headache, nausea, and the only thing that made me feel better was lying in the dark. UFC got me medicine, and I rested up for a couple hours before getting up and vomiting. It was at that point we called the UFC doctor, and he made the decision to send me to the hospital. I'm sorry to everyone who was excited for this fight. I tried to do everything I could do to stay in the fight, but these issues are out of my control. Now, he said one last thing that we will get to before we move on past this, and it's just another tweet, and it says, listen, I'm sorry to all my fans. My health and safety is more important at this time. Now, the picture above, folks, is Jeremy Stephens shoving Drakkar Klose, and the whole entire point that I'm making here is that as these health things are serious, right? As you got to watch out for that. We're in a fight business, the hurt business, but the entertainment business. And I'll tell you what, man, it's going to be hard living down, having a fractured neck, a damn near sprained neck from getting pushed. And you're an MMA fighter. You're supposed to be one of the toughest dudes out here, man. AJ, give me your take on this first and foremost, man. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? And at the end of the day, how long is this narrative going to stick around? Because I'm thinking you're soft is right around the corner. I'm not saying that, but I feel like the public perception is, all right, that's pretty soft, man. What do you think?
I mean, we were texting back and forth, and I think once he becomes safe and healthy, I think that narrative is going to be coming out a lot more. You know, once Drakkar Klose is, you know, determined to be actually healthy going forward, man. But my takeaway from this is hard, man, because it's weird. You know, it's a fight game. In the face-off, they went belly to belly. Jeremy Stephens says, "Don't you dare touch my belly," and absolutely shoves this man. And you like, okay, I thought it was a knee thing. You know, he was wearing slippers. Yeah. He was wearing the slides, so he slid out. You know, and maybe I'm just paranoid. I always, anytime I think of knee, I'm like, it's a knee. It's a knee problem. But man, so it came. You know, you saw him get shoved. You're like, how do you get hurt with a shove? Like you're in there to throw some hands, get kicked. You're used to getting kneed. Maybe, you know, you're ready for them. So that's why you're a little more accepting of it, can deal with the damage. But then we think of the thing, how we were saying a couple weeks ago with the, you know, when you're loose and limber, that's when things don't hurt. Yeah. He wasn't in that shove. He went belly to belly. It was so, I think it might've been a previous injury. Yeah. As why like it happened so fast and kind of sudden, you know, that kind of thing. But I don't know, man, it's a weird story. It's going to create some bad blood, and it's going to make for a hell of a highlight reel, you know, later down the road when they fight.
I really do hope that this fight does take place, because in the UFC, these things are not promised, right? You know, just like we saw Luis Pena was supposed to fight Drakkar Klose and then ends up fighting, you know, Alex Munoz. And, you know, that's something that we'll talk about here in just a second. But at the end of the day, man, this looks really bad for Jeremy Stephens, though, because the UFC is going to say, like, hey, man, this was fight of the night written all over it, right? You just cost us some bread. You're not getting paid your full amount. And on top of that, man, this just looks bad PR-wise. You know what I mean? It just looks bad. So Jeremy Stephens looks like a dick. I'm sorry, he does. But at the end of the day, this is supposed to be where the tough guys live, right? This is the tough guy sport. So I don't know, man. It's tough. You got some fighters saying that you shouldn't be allowed to touch a fighter whatsoever, and that Jeremy Stephens should get suspended the same way that you would after like a PED violation. I know these are fighters saying this. I can't remember off the top, but this was just on the Twitter feed. Actual fighters, you know, making their thoughts.
My question, Derek, what's the difference between that versus 3 pieces in a soda? You know, like
George Masvidal.
Almost more badass, you know, where this one, Jeremy Stephens just is a bully and a dick. You know, he just shoved a man. It would have been better if he would have lit him up, you know, with a quick combination instead of that. I don't know.
I think the difference is George Masvidal, and I think he brings in money, and they say, like, it's just like Conor McGregor, man. You could throw a dolly into a fucking van or whatever, and nothing happens. Like, that's one of those things where the UFC is so clearly favoring certain athletes as opposed to others, and let's be honest, Jeremy Stephens is the infamous, who the fuck is that guy? You know, like, it's that type shit, right? So he's memed up for that, and he's memed up for saying, listen, when I hit people, you know, I don't TKO them. They go to sleep. They don't move, and it's the same thing. He was like, when I shove people, they can't fight, man. They're injured. You know what I'm saying? The toughest little heathen, Jeremy Stephens, man. But I really think we got robbed out of that fight. So it's unfortunate, but let's talk about the fights that actually did happen. So AJ, I mentioned earlier, in the main card, man, 5 decisions, actually. 5 decisions straight all in a row, right? So started off with the Pena split decision. Tracy Cortez wins, split decision. Jacob Malkoun, I'm going to have to eat some crow in a second. Decision to win. Arlovski, decision to win. Robert Whittaker, decision to win. Very, very slow night for the MMA fans. But like I said, the judges got their work, cut out for them in this one. So let's talk about Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum, man. Bobby Knuckles, what can we say about this one, man? I think this is the outcome that most of us expected. Some did give, like yourself, you picked Gastelum because he is a dog, and he was a dog that entire fight. But being a dog isn't enough to beat Robert Whittaker because he is so I looked at this fight when I was watching it. I was all like, I was just imagining in my head. I was like, okay, well, if Israel Adesanya never came into the UFC, Robert Whittaker would be the champion, and this is how he would fight. This is how he fought as a champion. Like, he looked like a champion doing his, just handling business, right? So clear #1 contender, but it's still not clear if he's going to get the next shot, right? And we'll talk matchmaking in a second. I keep, you know, foreshadowing to what we're going to talk about, but let's just break down the performance, man. Robert Whittaker outstrikes Gastelum 169-70 and 150-62 in terms of significant strikes. Fight never got down to the ground, which is, you know, I mean, I guess it did. I'm just kidding. I take that back. Robert Whittaker took him down 4 times, and Gastelum took him down once. Now, my X factor did not play into account really at all. I said it was all about the calf kick, and it damn near just didn't exist, man. Give me some big takeaways, man. What do you think about this fight?
But my biggest takeaway, Derek, was the counter striking of Bobby Knuckles.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit, man. He was rocking him. And like you know, they usually say you want to be first, you want to get off first, get out of there so you don't get hit again. But man, he was letting Kelvin Gastelum just walk him down. And anytime he would throw, it was like whoop, slip, pop. It was very impressive, man. I was literally sitting there and this is exactly what you wanted to see out of Bobby Knuckles. That's all I was thinking. I was like, man, this dude looks impressive. Like you said, man, if Israel Adesanya wasn't here, this dude would be still reigning dominant champion and piecing Kelvin Gastelum up. And don't get me wrong, Kelvin Gastelum stood there and fought like a real, like you said, a dog. He was there. He was scrapping. But, man, Bobby Knuckles was precise, man. He was looking good.
Yeah, and this was our fight of the night, you know what I mean? And we called it right. We said if it's not going to be Stevens, you know, and Klaus, it's going to be the main event. And it was, but it was a very one-sided fight of the night. So in my opinion, this shouldn't have got fight of the night. I think Whittaker, you maybe could have given a performance bonus, maybe, but this was not a back-and-forth fight the way that they kind of made it out to be. Like it was, but it wasn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It was very back and forth, meaning that Robert Whittaker wasn't able to put Kelvin Gastelum away. But as far as who was, you know, winning the fight, it was pretty lopsided. Kelvin Gastelum definitely had his moments, but
we just watched Vettori versus Holland right there. This is 50-44 across the board. You know what I mean? So yeah, all 5 rounds to Robert Whittaker. Listen, the most impressive thing that I see from him always is the same. It's that 1-2. Head kick, right? 1-2 head kick. And then sometimes he'll just throw the cross and then the head kick. But the beauty of it is that you're throwing extended combinations off of one side. And that's what people aren't used to, right? You're used to using your torque. 1, 2, 1, 2. No. 1, 2, 3, you know, something like that, right? You know, and just keep popping it off on those same side combinations. It's very impressive.
I'm surprised he didn't utilize that more. I'm surprised Robert Whittaker didn't utilize that more. That 2 he throws and then that kick right behind it. Or he'll sometimes lead with the kick and then throw the right. And he actually tagged Kelvin Gastelum with that one where he threw the kick down low, right behind it. And I'm surprised he didn't use it more because it was tagging, especially in the Cannonier fight, it was tagging Cannonier up. And in this fight, he kind of utilized different stuff. It was pretty impressive.
Invasiveness, head movement, composure, the whole entire 9, man. It looked very impressive for Robert Whittaker. And I don't really got much else to say, but Kelvin Gastelum, this is a tough break for him. He got his shot, but unfortunately, it's as the game goes, right, AJ, man? You know, it's like when you're just facing killer after killer after killer, it's difficult to string those wins together. I don't think that Kelvin Gastelum should be cut by any means, man. But listen, it's so he got what? I think he's maybe 3-2 in his last 5, maybe 1-4. I just got to look at the numbers. I don't have it in front of me right now. But nonetheless, man, Robert Whittaker's on a 3-fight win streak now. So very, very impressive. But let's move on to this next one that I'm feeling a type of way about, man. Andrei Arlovski gets the win over the Vanilla Gorilla, man. This dude Arlovski just won't quit. This is officially his 20th win in the UFC. Super impressive. And he did the one thing that I said. I said 2 things that could be Arlovski path to victory. But the Wolverine did the one thing that was the smartest, which was just stay on the outside, man. Just stay on the outside and pick him apart. And the calf kick did play into a factor into this one from both fighters, right? Sherman was snapping his, Arlovski was snapping his. The numbers, if you look at it, these are a lot of close fights on this card. So the numbers, 109 total strikes for Arlovski, 99 for Chase Sherman. No takedowns for either. And Arlovski actually landed more leg kicks, man. So that might have done it. It's just, you know what I mean? The little point fighting like that, man. I just want to say, like, did you have a problem with this decision at all watching it?
No. I think Arlovski maybe not handily won, but definitely did more of the damage, more of the pace.
Sure.
And I kind of took it into like where my mind, when I was watching this fight, I was like, you got to really beat the veteran to get that name on your belt.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just kind of sort of squeak out a win. You can on paper, 100%. But like, it's more respectable when you put him out.
Yeah.
Sad to say, but yeah.
I saw something that I never thought I'd see, because Chase Sherman, I follow him on Instagram, right? And he said, he was all like, man, you do it to where, you know, you get to the point where your idols become your rivals, man. He says, I, you know, looked up to this dude Arlovski just like everything else, or just like everybody else does, you know what I mean? With these dudes who have been doing it forever, man. Like I said, Arlovski got 20 UFC wins. He joined the UFC originally in 2000. So it took him 21 years to rack up 20 wins, man. It's very impressive, very impressive. It's a win a year if you want to average it down like that. But Chase Sherman was caught following Arlovski around, which is one of the detriments to Sherman's game. Two things. So he actually did take some steps backwards in this fight, which surprised me a little bit. Maybe part of it, though, could be, though, that just like you remember Arlovski as the dude who you grew up watching as opposed to the Arlovski that's in the ring, right? You know, some of it could be that. But it was that, and then, yeah, he followed him instead of cutting off the ring, and Arlovski used his veteran generalship to his advantage, and at the end of the day, the fight ends with Chase Sherman says, I thought you were a fucking legend, bro. Come on, what's up? Right here. And Arlovski's like, yeah, no, bro. Come on, I've been doing this for too long. What are you talking about? So, impressive win for Andrei Arlovski. You got any other thoughts on this one?
No, man, that was like what I was kind of happy that happened, and also happy that the judges didn't really care about that. Because if he would have actually put some work in and made, you know, then said that, I would have been happier. But it was a good moment.
Yeah, man. And then I didn't mention it at the top of this card, but there's only 3 upsets, man. Another chalky week, man. Bellator, they went 5-0 on their A side, aka like the red corner, whatever the case may be, right? The A side, Bellator this week, Bellator 257 went 5-0. Here at the UFC, they went 4-1. 4-1 and 8-2 across the entire card. Man, so it was very, very chalky this week. But okay, AJ, I got to take a step back and I got to eat some crow for a second, man. So please allow me to get a rant off. Jacob Malkoun, man, the Australian, the mean Aussie, fighting right there. You know, training partners with Robert Whittaker. Listen, man. In his UFC debut, we did not have a lot to work with in terms of fight film, right? You know, he fought Phil Hawes. He got pieced up in 18 seconds. That was it. And he took a terrible game plan in that one. Now, he switched his approach in this one. Now, when you look back at his regional fights, you didn't really see what he put on to, you know, Abdul Razak Alhassan. You know, you didn't see it. But what we saw today was something incredible, man. I saw 8 takedowns, 8 of 24 takedowns. I saw an individual who says, you know what's the best way to actually squeak out a win against a dude who's got dynamite in his hands? You don't let him get a punch off, man, you know? So Alhassan, he had 32 total strikes, man, but you could tell from the jump, everything that he threw needed to be loaded up. Everything needed to be a rocket launcher shot, and Jacob Malkoun took advantage of that and laid and prayed, man. There's no other way to put it. But I want to ask you this, man. This was a very important and a very impressive win because of the caliber of the opponent, right? Because we know what Alhassan can do. But the question comes down to this. Jacob Malkoun, he needed to get this win really bad because going 0-2 in UFC is not a good way to go, right? But you get a shot to be on the main card, right? They put you on the main card. This was not this card was cool, you know what I mean? This was a solid card, but not incredible, right? So you get opportunity to get put on the main card. You know they matched up these two because they thought Alhassan was probably going to knock him out. They wanted fireworks. They wanted something exciting. You win, which is super important, but you probably deliver one of the most boring performances on the entire card, if not like in the last couple of weeks of fights since watching the Vittori Holland, basically, right? Or the Derek Brunson Holland. Where do you think he goes with the brass, you know, the UFC brass on this one? Because they could say like, good job, you won, but also don't ever fight like that ever again on a main card. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, Derek. You know, it's on paper, smart move. Got the win. You did what you needed to do against a very dangerous person. But man, you definitely didn't win any fans. You know, that's kind of the biggest, most important thing, is because the fans pay the bills. As much as Dana White cuts a check, you know, the importance of people coming together to watch you is really what you want, man. And yeah, I mean, yeah, he did get the win. I don't know, but it's like I said, not that impressive. It's very smart, very smart.
Yeah, man. And listen, he had 11 minutes of total control time, right? That's over 2 rounds. So this truly was a lay and pray contest. You know what I'm saying? But I want to talk right now because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here. And I want to talk about why I'm applauding Jacob Malkoun. Obviously, I had to eat crow because I said, I don't know why he's on the main card and dude doesn't stand a chance. And listen, I look dumb, not him, man. He proved me wrong. And that's the fighter's job, right? Is to prove us wrong. But at the end of the day, why am I talking positive on Jacob Malkoun and I'm not talking the same way about Marvin Vittori and his fight against Kevin Holland. And I'm going to tell you why, because in these situations, they're both in similar situations, but not quite, right? Marvin Vettori is talking like, I'm going to starch this dude. You know, he doesn't belong in the ring with me. I should be challenging for a title, and then puts on that performance against a dude who's at the time was 4 spots behind him in the rankings, a dude who isn't even a natural 185er, you know, he's more of a 170er. And at the end of the day, you couldn't even put him away, man. You know what I mean? You couldn't even really like hurt him. You got a little boo-boo over the eye, like we said. But I just think that being in that top 10, top 5, man, you got to really bring it, right? Now, the difference here, AJ, is that Jacob Malkoun, even though he wasn't talking mess, I mean, part of it is because I thought I wrote him off completely and I didn't think he would win this fight. But part of the reason why it's impressive is because when you're breaking into the UFC, these are the tactics you can take. That's totally okay. When you're breaking in, when you're established and you're trying to get a title, you can't do that because, like I said, this is not just the sport. This is entertainment. And as much as we like to keep them separate, I like to go purist martial artist. Obviously, AJ, you see in the way that I have some of my takes, I'm going more on the purist side than I am on the Ben Askren, Jake Paul, you know, just entertainment side. But at the end of the day, man, you can't be called the Italian dream if you ain't putting on dream-like performances, man. You could be the Italian dream because you put us to sleep with that performance. You know what I mean? I had a very Italian-themed dream on that fight. But at the end of the day, AJ, Jacob Malkoun, man, I hope we don't see more performances like this. I'm glad that you got to showcase the wrestling, but at the end of the day, man, that's why I give this take, and that's why I applaud his performance and not Marvin Vettori's. Do you have anything on that, AJ?
No, I got to agree too, Derek, because I was definitely not even thinking this guy had a chance against Alhassan. So, yeah, a lot of crow my way as well. But this dude, like I said, a very smart win. Sometimes you just got to get the dub and then perform after that. And, you know, that's the case. Hey, man, you got to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what's surprising about this, AJ, is most people don't know this. Alhassan was actually in the Tapology worldwide rankings, was probably about like 20 spots behind Jacob Malkoun. So even though we think it's a big name in terms of name recognition, it's really not in terms of actual placement. But nonetheless. Now, this next bout, man, is a women's flyweight. One of these flyweights didn't make weight, which is very disappointing because she was very, you know, hyped up contender, Tracy Cortez. I'm a big fan of Cortez. Don't get me wrong. I'm also a really big fan of Justine Kish, man. And I'll tell you what, Kish went in with she started the fight off with a dog shit fucking game plan, man. That was a terrible game plan. She went and tried to wrestle a wrestler and then tried to go BJJ with a wrestler, man. And listen, Justine Kish, man, she's a tough outing every single time, which is why I picked for Kish this time around. And this was a good test that Tracy Cortez had to pass because we saw, man, she's got I think she got a little bit of a cardio issue, you know, just a little bit. And also, you know, she could probably... You got to work on that striking, that head movement a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Her head was just chilling, center line, just dink, 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 you know? But hey, at the end of the day, she actually fought an opponent who was about 100 spots above her in the rankings, man. So Tracy Cortez passes a big test. She's going to make a huge jump in the rankings. And at the end of the day, man, she built her overall UFC win streak to 3 wins with a total win streak of 9 wins in a row. What can you tell me about this performance, AJ, man? What stood out to you about Tracy Cortez that could maybe say she's going to actually be a problem for this division in the upcoming years?
Yeah, to me, man, it was just the wrestling was on point. Like she looked really good on the ground, very, very, very solid, very, very firm. You know, like very good hips, knew exactly what was coming, man. And really, it was surprising to me, like you said, the dog shit strategy at Kish just went right at her, right for the wrestling. It was crazy, but man, the big takeaway, I don't know for me personally if she's ready for even top 15, man. That head movement was striking, man. You're going to be put in some dangerous places, and sure, you can wrestle your way out. But once you face a striker who can actually, you know, utilize that, not get taken down, especially in the women's division where they're all very good on the ground for the most part, it's going to be a pretty big detriment to your game.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I hear you. We'll see who she gets faced up against next, man. Whoever it is, it should be a good test, you know, to keep going, like bringing these tests on. But at the end of the day, man, listen, it was a win, and a win is a win is a win, man. And here we are once again, man. You know, Tracy Cortez keeps building it up, another veteran going by the wayside. And I guess that's just kind of how it happens, man. So this last one, man, the Violent Bob Ross gets a big win against Alexander Munoz, man. And AJ, man, just give me some thoughts before I even give my take. Give me some thoughts on this fight.
This one was hard, man, because like looking back on it, I can see in points how it's a split decision win, but I had it going the other way. Like I had this as a robbery alert, my man. This one was a rough one. And even for me as a Pena fan, I wanted to see him win. I'm happy he won, but it was not the performance I wanted to see.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'll tell you what, Luis Pena, there's part that they were even talking about on the commentary, and they were saying this could play in why the judges scored it the way they did. Because if you talk about like striking effectiveness, and I'll even pull up the stats right now. I got them right here in front of me. Striking effectiveness, Pena wins, right? 90 to 82. All right, cool. Significant strikes, 90 to 80. You win on both categories. You want to talk about takedowns? I guess they didn't count. They didn't even factor those into the judging this time around, right? Because Munoz had 4 takedowns, and last time I checked, that's supposed to count for something. You know what I mean? This is mixed martial arts after all. But Luis Pena had another thing that was, I guess it's discounted. It's an intangible that we don't talk about much when we talk about officiating, right? But he had bravado. You know what I mean? He was in there just like saying, I'm going to do whatever I want to you. I'm going to throw no-look punches. You know what I mean? He was sitting there like, yeah, what's up, bro? You know what I mean? Like, he was there. He was crisp. He was fresh all 3 rounds. And what I saw was very surprising, man. You see, folks, if you're watching, you can see a slimmer of it. But I'm going to pull something up real fast, AJ. Here, hold on. Let me pull it up, folks. If you think I'm playing over here, I'm not. Bow. I take this wrestling stuff serious. You see this guy? That's Dan Gable. This is called Competitor Supreme. This is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. So I'm watching this before the fights. I'm seeing Dan Gable coach, Iowa College over here, just getting championship after championship, talking about, hey man, listen, he told me this, or he didn't tell me anything, but he had said this, which was very, motivating to me. He said, hey, a Dan Gable coach team does not lose. You know what I mean? You only lose because you didn't want to win. You feel me? One of his athletes got a tie, and he says, you know why you tied? Because you didn't want to win. And he was all like, yeah, what do you mean? He was like, no, you didn't want to win. You wanted to tie. That's why you tied. So all about hard work, all about you can't outwork me, effort, all that. Alexander Munoz, man, he's a legit wrestler. This dude is a legit wrestler. That is literally the backbone of his entire offensive repertoire. And what did I see in round 3? I'm not even being harsh. I'm just being, this is an observation of what I saw in this fight. I saw Alexander Munoz get tired, man. I saw a tired wrestler against a striker, against Luis Pena, who's, yeah, he's big, he's long, he's making you move around, you know what I mean? He's throwing knees in your face. But you can't, as a wrestler, man, you can't get tired like that. Like, that is your whole entire game plan. Round 3, you outwork them. You grab the takedown, and that's what I started to see is towards round 2, round 3, Luis Pena kept those knees up high in Munoz's face, and Munoz either didn't want to eat one or he was too tired to keep shooting for the takedown. Because I think a couple takedowns in round 3 would have won him the fight. But at the end of the day, you texted it to me, actually. You said, hey, man, I guess you can't leave it in the judge's hands today. You know what I mean? And that's what we saw, right? So Luis Pena, he wins a very controversial split decision, 29-28 times 2, and then 28-29, so a 29-28 for Alexander Munoz. But at the end of the day, man, Luis Pena needed this win really bad. To be honest, this is his first win since February 29th of 2020, so it's been quite some time since he's gotten a big win. Had a fight canceled against Drakkar Klose. We already talked about it. What did you think, though, of Luis Pena's performance? Because I liked it once he started to turn it on, but this reminds me of, and we'll talk about it in a second, Phil Davis. He loses to Vadim Nemkov in Bellator 257, the light heavyweight Grand Prix, and Phil Davis is notorious for being a slow starter, and that's just what we saw against Luis Pena, and that's oftentimes their detriment. Luckily, it worked out this time. Give me some thoughts, AJ.
I think that was it. Once he turned it on and once he started having that bravado you were talking about, man, he was looking good. He was starting to show out, starting to talk some shit. He was looking like how I wanted to see him perform from the start, from the jump. But man, yeah, that was sometimes a slow start will hurt you. Sometimes a slow start will be the key to victory. So it's hard to say, which path to take, because you don't want to have that adrenaline dump and then get beat up for the rest of the fight. So yeah, I mean, it looked good when it looked good. It was not the best whenever he was just kind of almost looked like he wasn't having his gears in line. He just wasn't having the right mechanics down. He wasn't back in the groove until that 3rd round when he started to really pull away from Munoz. So, and yeah, I liked it. Like I said, I'm a fan. I'm a Pena fan, my man. So I'm happy he got the dub at the end of the day. I just want to see round 3 as a round 1, start from the jump and really hurt some people, man, because he can. He really is very violent. He can hurt some people. He's very, like I said, very sharp on all his ligaments and the tower, or elbows and knees and all that jazz. But yeah, so
you know what, AJ, man, and I say this with the utmost respect. Luis Pena is a man I would not want to fight. He looks like a legitimate, like, psychotic individual. Like, he enjoys fighting too much. You know what I mean? Like, he looks like he enjoys it too much.
I'm glad you said that, Derek, because to me, I almost texted this. I wanted to save this for the show, man. And he doesn't really look like a violent Bob Ross. He looked more like a sideshow Bob from The Simpsons.
Oh yeah,
like
oh shit,
psychotic.
Yeah.
Dangerous, man. He's out there to scrap, bro.
Listen, man, he be talking to people on Twitter too, being like, bro, y'all can get it. Like, what's up? I'm not, you think I'm one of those dudes? I'm not here to fuck around. So he even said it in the ring. This is probably, this is a top moment for me. One of those UFC Apex moments where you can hear the fighters talking. He says, I'm going to change my name to Violent Kevin Holland. You know what I mean? And listen, you got to get the, and you text me though, you're like, you got to get that win first, homie, before you lose like Holland too. So, hey, Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross, always a fan favorite here on this program, but let's string those wins together and let's make them a little more convincing so we don't have to get a heart attack when the judges come in, man. But listen, that was our assessing the damage for UFC Vegas 24, Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. Now we're going to move on to a fan favorite portion of this show, which is our matchmaking. And it's a fan favorite not only because, you know, we sit in here, we speculate and doing research, but because a lot of the fights that we actually predict or that we match up ourselves end up coming to fruition. What do you know? UFC, give us a call. Double phones. Come on, you know. So where do we start today, AJ, man? We can start off the top. We can start at the bottom. How about, since we're talking about Luis Pena, we just match him up really quickly, man. Give me some thoughts, because I got two really good ones, but I only want to reveal one. So give me some thoughts for the Violent Bob Ross.
Man, in the 155 division, because it's so deep, this one's an interesting one to me, man. I was thinking a big wrestler, kind of something, because we need to see another performance where he actually definitively puts a wrestler away and has good work with it. So personally, it's a little left field. He hasn't really fought in a while. RDA, give him a veteran, give him a pro. RDA, it's a good fight. He's very well rounded, and I don't know that one. I have another one as well, but I'm betting more towards RDA. Who do you think?
I call that one a reach, my friend. I think we're reaching on that one. You know, I think RDA just got lined up to fight someone in the top 10. So I don't know if we're going to see that. Luis Pena, in my opinion, because Tapology Worldwide Rankings, he is sitting there at 57. I don't think he gets that shot yet, man. So I got something a little more enticing. How about a couple steps up, you know, because he wants someone who isn't coming off a loss. He wants someone in front of him. I give you number 53, Mike Davis. How about Mike Davis, man? That dude, you want to talk about a scrap. Davis is injured right now, and he's still trying to get back. But when he can get back, he's 9-3. He's on a one-fight win streak, and this dude is one of the most impressive strikers we have in the division right now. So I think that would be a huge win, or a win for Luis Pena, just in getting the star recognition that is Mike Davis, even though he's more of an up-and-comer still. But at the end of the day, man, that would be fireworks. What do you think?
Yeah, dude, that's a hell of a scrap. Definitely more in arm's reach than the one I was saying.
Yeah.
And my other one too is a hell of a reach too. So I definitely think you got to give him somebody. I was thinking like A10 Jim Miller, another veteran of a wrestler, a little lower on the rankings, but still a veteran. Get his name out there. But I'm with you, my man.
Yeah.
Give him some a little lower.
Yeah, there we go. You know, you build them up. Come on, you know what I mean? But we can hit Tracy Cortez next, man. And I think this one, you can go a lot of places. Here's what's hard about this week, right? We only had one ranked fighter, you know what I mean, on this main card. So it's like you can go anywhere with these fights. Tracy Cortez, she moves to 9-1, 9-fight win streak. She's not knocked out, but she's taking care of names like Maria Agapova, Erin Blanchfield, Stephanie Egger, Vanessa Mello, and now Justine Kish, man. Hit list on the last 5. I think that she takes a step up because she went from 162 in the worldwide rankings to number 62 after beating Justine Kish, because Justine Kish was at number 62. So AJ, what do you think about someone on a one-fight win streak? Or I could give her a loser. That would be very competitive. But I think number 40, JJ Aldridge, man, just came off of a very big win, I believe against Hannah Cyphers or someone of that nature. But JJ Aldridge, big win, 9-4, one-fight win streak. She's been a name in the women's flyweight division for quite some time now. How's that sound to you?
That was actually my pick as well, just because this is such a hard fight to, like, she's so low. Who do I don't even know who to give her. So I was literally looking for the name, like, of who, some kind of name recognition that's not anywhere near like the top, 20, 30. And yeah, I'd have to go JJ Aldridge. It's really the only one kind of popping out to me, because we just need to see more. We just need to see more of Cortez. That's the only thing. We need to give her somebody who's a known killer in there already to really see what's going on.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Kish is a hell of a killer. So we saw it there, but somebody a little, just a smidge higher.
No, I know what you mean, man. That's why I was also thinking this one, she would actually be much closer to Tracy Cortez, even be a step behind. But Mara Bohela, she's on a 4-fight losing streak, but she just came off that win to Maeda Bueno Silva, or lost to Maeda Bueno Silva, actually. She's a killer, man. She just, had tough run of luck, man. But, that's neither here nor there. Now, this next one, man, Jacob Malkoun. I got a killer for him, man, because he wanted to turn into a wrestler. I got a killer for him. AJ, how does this sound? Jacob Malkoun moves to 5-1 in his MMA career, 1-fight win streak. He went from 101, and in my opinion, you only move up 2 spots because, like I said, Alhassan was actually behind him in the rankings. So you can't move him up too much because, listen, at the end of the day, I think he needs to fight this guy who is ranked at number 98. Alishkab Hizrev, the dude who just got his fight canceled. Big wrestler, man. Come on, these Dagestan boys do not play. 13-0, 13-fight win streak. That's a banger, am I right?
That's a banger. Yeah, and we get to see Hashraf perform, man. Yeah. Dude, that's what I was thinking. I kind of wanted to see him against another wrestler to see if his test is the same. I mean, fight fire against fire. If you're going to give us a sleeper of a fight, let's see, let's see if you can actually, outsleep the sleeper. So yeah, another crazy one for me, just who I had down was Dustin Stoltzfus.
Bro, I had the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, right on. I'm glad. That's funny that we got the same ones on a couple of these ones because you can go anywhere with these, but I think that Dustin Stoltzfus is a great wrestler coming out of Germany. He dropped his last one, man. I forget who he fought, but it was a very impressive win, the dude who beat him. But at the end of the day, it was a tough test because Stoltzfus, man, this dude is no joke, man. 13-2 his MMA career and ranked at number 92 in the worldwide rankings, man. Listen, this dude could still cause a lot of havoc. And Jacob Malkoun, it was a big win, but we got to see a more well-rounded approach, man. Let me see how you actually do on the feet against these UFC fighters, because if you want to just be the wrestler, the UFC could feed you to some real wrestlers, bro, and I don't think that's going to be as pretty as it might be. But who knows, because Robert Whittaker and Malcoon, they both said they've been training wrestling the most they ever have during this camp, so maybe it was just the game plan. I don't know, man. But I guess we move on to the timeless Andrei Arlovski, Wolverine. Who the hell does this man fight? He is now in clear solidified gatekeeper territory at this point, right? You got to be, you know what I mean? Not maybe gatekeeping for a title, but gatekeeping to get into the top 15, gatekeeping to see if you're really going to make noise in the heavyweight division. And with that being said, I want to give him somebody who I believe was ranked for like 5 minutes and then isn't ranked anymore. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He just got a very impressive win. Once again, apologies, I don't have the actual name in front of me, but his last win, I picked against him. Sergey Spivak, number 18, man. This dude is a beast. He's a killer, and he needs somebody to fight. So what do you think?
Spivak, dude, I'm in the exact same boat with you. Who in the hell do we feed? Andrei Arlovski literally has turned into the man that you go to either make or break your UFC career. Yeah. And like, if you can put Arlovski away, all right, you're gonna make some waves, man. But if you just end up doing, getting pieced up, getting put to sleep, man, it's gonna be you're out the door. I'm literally like, I don't even know, to be honest with you. Like, you could go any just up and comer. It's hard to say. To be honest, man, I had some crazy picks. I'm trying to think of I kind of want to see Juan Espino perform again, just to really see what he's like, because he looked good. Yeah. He looked good, man, and I'm a big Romanov fan, so it looked good. Yes, you said Spivak. Yeah. That's probably the most recognizable name. I was thinking Sergey Pavlovich.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
He's that's not really exciting to me, to be honest with you. I want to see somebody kind of coming up in a big name, somebody young and like another Tanner Bozer, another somebody like that. But who do we have? I don't know.
Sergey Spivak. That's exactly who we have. Line it up, UFC. Come on, man. Give it to him. Give it just because. I mean, come on, man. At this point, it makes the most sense. Sergey Spivak is number 18 in the Tapology rankings. Arlovski is at 16, right outside of that top 15, man. So give him someone right there. Give him a big test. See if he can crack the top 15. But let's hit this last one, man, and then move on to some MMA news, man. Robert Whittaker. There's only 2 logical choices at this point. Either he gets the title shot, either the UFC says we will oblige you, Robert Whittaker, because you're a former champion, you've done so much, you've been so patient. But then they could say, listen, man, you haven't been wanting to take fights, you're scared, yada, yada, yada. So you know what? You actually don't get the championship fight. You don't get the rematch against Adesanya. Instead, you got to fight Paulo Costa, because you were originally supposed to fight him, and you're going to knock that out, and the winner of that then gets to fight for the championship. But at the end of the day, if Costa were to win that and then fight for the championship again, he got starched way worse than Robert Whittaker did when he fought Stylebender. So does it make sense? Stylebender, that's the only matchup that makes sense right now?
To be honest, man, this is going to sound crazy. I wanted to give him to Vettori. I don't think Costa deserves it. I really don't think like like you said, he got starched worse than a Bobby Knuckles did, man. Costa took a worse beating. I don't think he's anywhere near number one. Or feed Costa to Vettori, let them fight Whittaker. I don't know. If I'm Whittaker, you take the rematch. You have to take the rematch. That's where the payday is. But, you know, UFC is another animal as far as that. So, and in all the media interviews, he didn't look that like demanding or like that motivated to get the dub. And like you said, Dan Gable said, man, you gotta be, you want the win to get the win. Yeah. It doesn't really look like he wants the belt. So we'll see. I personally, who I want to see him fight is Marvin Vettori.
Yeah, I think that Vettori versus Costa would be better because I told you after Vittori's performance, it doesn't. Why do you get rewarded for something like that? You know what I mean? Why do you, like, if the UFC is about entertainment, that would be a very boring champion. You know, the same reason why Tyron Woodley was champion and Dana White was like, I fucking hate this guy, dude. Like, you're so fucking boring. We don't want you to be the champion. You know what I mean? And then when they got Kamaru Usman, they're starting to head into that territory until he got the Colby Covington fight and started to turn it on, right? And started knocking people out. But, hey, man, that's keeping it pushing, man. I think that we're going to see Stylebender versus Whittaker next. It only makes sense. But, all right, folks. So let's hit the word on the street, AJ. Word on the street. Vadim Nemkov, as I noted earlier, he moves to 14-2, defeats Phil Davis, who is now 22-6 via unanimous decision, 48-47 times 3, defends the light heavyweight championship for the second time, and moves on to the semifinals of the light heavyweight World Grand Prix in Bellator. I just want to say this, man. Vadim Nemkov is keeping an eye on this guy because now I'm starting to compare him to the light heavyweights in the UFC, and this is what's troubling, man. Bellator's getting some people, you know what I'm saying, that you're like, okay. All right, Michael Chandler, he made his transition to the UFC. That was kind of top of the heap over there, but they got some killers, man, and this is a Russian monster in the best of ways, man. This dude is a killer. Phil Davis is a killer, but Vadim Nemkov, his brother fought on the same card. Brother got, I think he lost that one very definitively. But at the end of the day, man, listen, I'm just glad. The reason why I wanted to point this out, AJ, is you can give me your opinion on it or not. It wasn't about the fight specifically. It was more about, we're just seeing, man. These other promotions have talent, bro. Not just Bellator, even one, you know what I mean? One championship. Were we not just clowning on them just a couple weeks back, talking about like Ryzen and one, like, what? All right, what are you guys doing? But we're seeing Mighty Mouse is getting beat up. Eddie Alvarez is, you know, not quite having the success they might supposed to. Give me some thoughts. Just like, you know, we keep hitting this reoccurring theme. But listen, man, one day, either we're going to see a merger or we're going to see someone start to creep up that popularity scale.
I'm hoping for it, Derek, man, because that to me is where this whole experiment since the beginning of MMA is going. Is, you know, it started off as which practitioner is the best, you know, karate versus jiu-jitsu versus judo versus boxing, you know, all that. But really now it's starting to be like whose organization is the best and who's going to be going for, you know, top dog. And that right there to me is very exciting because UFC's had a stranglehold on the competition for, you know, eons, decades already. You know, they are, when you think of MMA, you think of UFC. Now, with Bellator kind of making the way and some killers really starting to rise, man, this is exciting. This is the time of growth for the entire MMA world, really. And that right there is a very exciting you know, prospect to envision.
Yeah, I agree, man. I also got to show a little bit of love to the former UFC veteran, somebody who got knocked out of the UFC, literally, not even figuratively, in Corey Anderson, because he got a big second-round TKO win over Yagshimuradov, man. Talk about a mouthful right there. But listen, I'm just like seeing these dudes go over, have some success. You know, Corey, there should be a place, right? If you can't have success in the UFC, there should be another place where it's like, yeah, maybe you're not the best of the best of the best of the world, but you like, goddamn, you up there, bro. Come on, you know what I mean? So this dude, Yagshimuradov, was a dark horse in this competition, and Corey Anderson also advances to the semifinals. And Anderson, big win, man. Like I said, Phil Davis, that was a huge name to conquer. And yeah, man. So that's our news from Bellator. Now from one championship, Christian Lee, man. I don't know if you know about the Lee family, but this is the prodigy family over there in Singapore, right? So you got Christian Lee, Angela Lee, and then I believe Christina Lee is like a 16-year-old Lee, you know what I mean, that fights in one championship as well, man. And she got her first win just a couple weeks ago. Angela Lee, she's a champion. Christian Lee is a champion. Angela Lee just had a baby. Christian Lee defends his belt, right? He defends his belt 170 pounds for the second time, moves to 15-3 and defeats Timothy Nastyukin. Now, AJ, I don't know if you know who this guy is, but this is the dude who knocked out Eddie Alvarez in his one debut over there, right? So we were like, yo, Eddie Alvarez former champion in the UFC, gets knocked out in his debut against who? What? Yeah, Nastyukin, man. Nasty motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? These dudes are...
That's what I was about to say, man. That name, Nastyukin, stuck with me because he was a nasty motherfucker. That fight was good, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, man. So with that being said, man, that was kind of like the big scary monster of one championship. And to see a 22-year-old named Christian Lee knock him out with like a left hook easy, whew, scary, man. It's just scary to see. Like, listen, at welterweight right there, who's to say we don't see one of these cats in the UFC one day, man? But at the end of the day, man, that Singapore whole situation they got over there is still a little odd, man. I'm still got a sour taste in my mouth over the DJ. I feel isn't it terrible that I forgot the dude's name who just like shocked the world, right? It goes to show that like if he did that to anybody else besides Mighty Mouse, no one would have gave a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the popularity differences lie, right? But the individual who knocked out Mighty Mouse, man, I forgot my point. Anyways, all right, man, let's move on. Last 4 minutes. Let's use these back to what we were talking about. I want to talk about the thing that I foreshadowed a little bit earlier, man. Regis Prograis, dude's a stud, man. I've actually been watching him, not anything to do with none of this entertainment stuff, just as a legitimate boxer. Like, this dude is legit. He's the next, in my book, a couple years back, I labeled him as the next up-and-coming thing, right? You know, he's killing the game, 26-1, 21 knockouts, defeats Ivan Redkach. I don't want to pronounce the name, but I only have read it. I have never said it, but we'll just call him Ivan, right? He's a Ukrainian boxer, and he loses via technical decision, but there's more to the story, AJ. This dude, right? So he's fighting Prograis, and Prograis hits him with a nice little right hook, grazes him on the kidney, right? It was a graze, right? And we know body shots hurt. We know if you get hit in that liver the right way, you're going down. We know even if you get touched in the kidney the right way, you're going down. Got it. Listen, nothing to be embarrassed about. That's human physiology, right? However, he gets kind of grazed, tagged on his kidney, right? So folks, if you're like assessing your own body, this is the left side of your body, not the right side where your liver is, but the left side, right? So he goes down and he's withering in pain, right? And then he starts grabbing his cojones, man, starts grabbing the nuts and being like, oh, I got hit with the nut shot, withering around. I'm talking about like agony, like, you know, like soccer player style. You feel me? Like really dramatic. And it's 2021, right, AJ? Last time I checked, right? We live in a digital age. We've had instant replay for decades now at this point, right? So this dude must have forgotten that instant replay was a thing that exists, that we possess this technology, because as soon as it went to the instant replay, it showed he got grazed on the kidney, faked a nut shot, was down for so long, and it was so bad he became unresponsive to a degree and had to get stretchered out. And that was the co-main event of the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren spectacle, fiasco, you know, sideshow, whatever you want to call it. My question to you is this, man: what's more embarrassing? Going out there and being a professional boxer and losing like that to a body shot, or faking a nut shot and having to live with that for the rest of your life, knowing that you got stretchered out because they're talking about commitment, right? Like, you are so committed to this acting job that you said, I will get stretchered out even though I know it's just, you know what I mean? It's just a body shot, man.
Respect to him for doubling down, man. When you're caught in a lie, you lie again. You double down on that bad boy. You got to play the heel if you're going to be the heel, my man. But yeah, I think it's a lot worse that he got caught in faking a nut shot, you know? That's not what you want. You want to be a fighter. You want to be the big bad dog in the room. You don't want to go down like a soccer player.
Here's the question, though. Who's more embarrassed at the night's end? Ben Askren getting knocked out in one round to a YouTuber, or this dude who literally stretchered out off of a fake nut shot?
I think it's, in my mind, if all things were equal, the fake nut shot, but Ben Askren is a lot more of a name, so we're not gonna remember that, man. So I think Ben Askren ultimately takes the biggest L of the night, but this doesn't look good for any profession for Regis Prograis.
This just made boxing and MMA side by side just look terrible in one night, you know? So
yeah, exactly. I'm glad you pointed that out, Derek. It literally what I said earlier about how it kind of inflated boxing and made it look, you know, like almost too good, like better than MMA. Then you have this exact thing right before it. Like, yeah, it's a little fishy.
Yeah, man. And, you know, who knows? Because we saw a video of Ben Askren walking very jolly right after getting knocked out, you know, walking straight to the bank, cashing that $500,000 payday, plus all the sponsorships, plus all of the incentives that come with that, man. Dude, let's just say he made a mockery of himself. He probably tainted his own legacy, in my own humble opinion. But at the end of the day, man, dude's walking away with a pocket full of fucking cash. So I guess that's what matters these days, because the UFC does not offer no pensions, no unions, no nothing like that for their employees, for their athletes. athletes. But hey, man, what a way to conclude the word on the street, right, AJ, man? So listen, this was an interesting week of MMA, man. But I will be honest, this card was a little underwhelming for me, you know. But we cover it as always because that's our job, that's what we do, and we're looking forward to some big fights, man. So let me just announce these upcoming fights and let's get out of here, man. So, folks, this week, big MMA week. We got the debut of PFL, the Professional Fight League, their 2021 season taking place. Headlining PFL 1, we have Anthony Pettis facing off against Clay Collard at lightweight, 155 pounds. Blast from the past, man. Look at those two names, man. You know, PFL doing their thing too. I'll be watching. Then we got one on TNT, number 3. That'll be John Lineker versus Troy Worthen. That's a featherweight affair taking place. You know, go see what the, you know, Singapore, the Asian world has to offer in terms of MMA and all that. And then lastly, the big show, AJ, and I just want to get one take from you before we get out of here. UFC 261, Usman versus Jorge Masvidal, number 2. It is the rematch. It is not taking place on 6 days' notice. But we have 3 championship fights, AJ. We're gonna have Usman versus Masvidal, number 2. We're gonna have Weili Zhang facing off against Rose Namajunas for the strawweight belt, and then we're gonna have Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade for the flyweight belt, for the women's flyweight belt. My question before we get out of here, AJ, of those 3 title fights, which fight is most likely to have and new at the end of the night?
Who do I hope it is? Thug Rose. Who do I think it is? Man, this is going to be a hard fight for the B side all around. But I'm going crazy. I'm going Street Jesus George Masvidal, my dog.
Oh, bold take. And listen, I'm going to play it safe because I got to think this through. But right now, preliminarily, I think that we're hearing and still all across the board, man. I think the champs aren't going to want to give them up. We got some real killers. These are some of the best champions that we have to offer in the UFC. So, folks, listen, that's a little teaser, but stay tuned because we'll be back on Wednesday with a betting show and, of course, on Friday with the preview to break down UFC 261 and all of that good stuff. So drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification icon, subscribe so you can gain access to all 3 of those shows we just mentioned. And listen, man, you know what we do every single time. Bring it to action. AJ, always a pleasure. Honored to break it down with you. Until next time, folks. Peace.